Well, as Arnold Schwarzenegger says, welcome back. He's back. Anyway, guys, welcome. We're excited about what's starting to shape up now, what we're looking at. So we decided we'd do it in front of the big board today in our conference room. This is where we keep the stats for our team selection committee to watch and see how things are going. The Southeastern Conference being our home conference, we're going to talk a little bit about the Southeastern Conference today. Georgia 4-0, clearly one of the best teams in the country. I think they need to open up the offense a little bit more, but clearly Georgia's going to be in the mix for the CFP. So we'll kind of take them off our board for a little bit. Kentucky, what a big upset Kentucky had. I know they were home, but still to go in and beat Mississippi State 28-7 like that, kind of amazing. I really thought Mississippi State might be an elite team, and I still believe they are. Florida, who knows? Tennessee is really not very good, and so we don't know about Florida, but at least they're 3-1. They're trending to make it to the bowl-eligible team. That would be a good team for us to have in our mix. Missouri, I think Missouri's a pretty good team. We don't know yet. We'll have to see as they move through. They play a couple teams in the West, and we'll see how that turns out. Obviously, South Carolina, Kentucky. Kentucky's the surprising team of the East, playing very good football. South Carolina comes in there. If they can beat South Carolina, then Kentucky will be one of the teams that will be high on the list of potential New Year's Day sixes that don't get into the championship game and have a really good chance to be in our mix. South Carolina, we'd love to see them win a couple of ball games. Obviously, South Carolina's very close and will travel very well to our site and come down. Again, Tennessee's just not very good. They got Georgia to play. They've got some other teams that are probably better than they are. But I think Tennessee will get it on the right track. I think the new coach will turn the corner and start getting a little bit better. This year might not be the Volunteers' year, though. Vanderbilt, don't know a lot about Vanderbilt yet. They're decent, but they're 2-2. They play Tennessee State. I don't know that we're going to find out a whole lot about that. This is where the strength of the SEC is. In fact, the SEC West could have 3 or 4 of the best teams in the country. Alabama, we all know what Alabama's got. LSU against Ole Miss will be a good football game. The interesting part about that is Ole Miss can score some points. I don't know if things stop anybody. Auburn, Mississippi State, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, Arkansas. How good is Texas A&M? Well, they're pretty dang good, guys, and I think you'll see that as the season moves forward. They only played the number 1 and number 2 team in the country so far this year, so I think Jimbo will get them going and moving. Arkansas, of course, probably is not going to be in the mix and off our radar. So Alabama, LSU, Auburn, Mississippi State. Think that Mississippi State falls out a little bit. Auburn and LSU will battle for that second spot in the West, which could get them in the New Year's Day 6. Obviously, if Alabama makes it to the national championship game, then LSU or Auburn could be the replacement team in the Sugar Bowl. So starting to shape up, starting to get a little bit better feel for the teams there and who we can have and who we want. The ACC and the Big Ten. Let me tell you, I'm starting to think that with our deal with the Music City Bowl, that it makes sense probably for the Music City Bowl to start looking at the ACC a little bit closer. You know, we have 2 selections left. 2 more years on the contract, we will get 1 ACC team and 1 Big East team. So Scott Ramsey and I have been talking, and we're starting to look at kind of the mixes that would make it look good. I would point out to you one of the things that is important for us to watch, obviously, is Louisville. They're right down the street from the Music City Bowl. They would be a good Music City Bowl team, as would NC State in the drive ability. Right now, Clemson clearly is one of the top teams in the country. Duke is a surprise at 4-0. Virginia Tech, I mean, I don't know where that came from. But we'll watch this and we'll look at some of these other teams as they start playing each other. You know, there's some strength at the top of the ACC. There's going to be some good teams in the middle with the North Carolina States, the Louisvilles. I hate it. I don't think Florida State's going to get bowl eligible this year, but we get Florida State next year anyway, so we're excited about that Florida State-Boise State game. Over here, we know Ohio State's really, really good. We know Penn State's really, really good. Guess what? They're playing this weekend. That's going to solve that mix, and it's going to solve that problem. Indiana, Maryland, Michigan, Michigan State, Rutgers, they're all in the middle of the mix. Maybe somebody breaks out of this group, but I'm not really sure they will. I think they more will beat each other up as we go through the season. Down here, you got Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin. Wisconsin's better, I think, than the way they played against Iowa. Illinois, Northwestern, Purdue, Nebraska's kind of like our Arkansas in the SEC. They're not going to be very good. So if you looked at these teams right in here, Illinois, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Iowa, and then did the same thing up here, Ohio State, Penn State, maybe a Michigan, maybe a Michigan State. Of course, Maryland and Indiana are right in the mix, but those are the kinds of teams that will be available. I would tell you that if I had to pick right now, the winner of the Ohio State-Penn State game is in the Final Four. I don't believe anybody else in this conference has a chance to be in the Final Four. I do believe, though, that two teams, Ohio State and Penn State, will make it in the New Year's Day 6. If we do the same thing back over here, I think Clemson is in the Final Four. I think because the playoff this year is in the Orange Bowl, I'm not sure another team from the ACC gets in. If they do, it probably comes from that Miami, Duke, Virginia Tech type thing. And it looks like the rest of these teams will be in our mix. And then, of course, in the SEC, you always expect 3 teams to play up. We believe 2 for sure. You're going to get somebody in the Final Four, either Alabama or Georgia. That's probably your championship game. LSU and Auburn will have something to say about that. Whichever team were to lose the championship game more than likely goes to the Sugar Bowl as the replacement team for the SEC. And quite frankly, I think between LSU and Auburn, you've got a chance to get another team in the New Year's Day 6. So we're excited about where we are and what's going on. We're going to start talking a heck of a lot more about football and about where they stand and what the standings are in the weeks to follow. Again, October is the decision-making month because they all will have played a bunch of conference games, and that's the important part is where they stand. So SEC versus either the Coastal Division or the Atlantic Division in the ACC, East or West over there. And let's don't forget one other team that we might have a shot at, and that's Notre Dame. How good is Notre Dame? I don't think we know that yet. If they go on and win 11 or 12 games, clearly they take a slot in the New Year's Day 6 and for sure the Final Four. That's another team moving up. But watch Notre Dame. They may not be that good, and they may drop down, and then there would be a great chance for us to get Notre Dame in our bowl game. So I'm not going to talk about Jaguar football this past weekend. I was there. Everybody that saw it. They're better than that, and they'll be better in the future. So we just hang in there with them and keep pulling for them. Thanks for this week, and we look forward to seeing you again.